sérieux que je dois parler en anglais. Je sais pas quand c'est oui, c'est assez. Je sais pas. J'ai le livre en français, oui. J'ai un livre en français. Mais non, on ne peut pas lire les deux, c'est pas les mêmes. Malheureusement. Tout le monde comprend l'anglais ici. Ah mais c'est dommage. Alors. Ça y est, j'aimerais un peu plus de lumière.
Mataji is going to try to speak in English.
Sorry, I was thinking I will speak in French. And I have to speak in English. Merci. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Majanati Mahandasya Chanandana Sarataya Chachurunita Yena Tashari Sigoravinama. Je suis né dans la plus profonde ténèbre de l'univers, mais du flambeau lumineux de la connaissance, mon maître spirituel m'a ouvert les yeux, je lui offre mon image respectueuse. Bon, je vais enlever mes lunettes. Alors, the title of the chapter is Stay High Forever. Stay High Forever. They make a little leaflet and is Stay High Forever. No more coming down. Practice Krishna consciousness. Expand your consciousness by practicing the transcendental sound vibration. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. The leaflet went on to extol Krishna consciousness over any other eye. It included phrases like end all breakdowns and turn on, and it spoke against employing artificially induced method of self-realization and expanding consciousness. Someone objected to the flyers playing too much of a hippie mentality, but Prabhupada said it was all right. So we can see that the leaflet was for people who were taking some drug. When we don't take drug, we don't know all that words, stay high forever or anything. But Srila Prabhupada was concerned that the person who will hear the mantra, they will have some feeling, thinking, oh, by chanting the mantra, I will get something what I am searching. So it's very important to, when you preach, you have to give what the people need. And in Krishna consciousness is easy because you can get everything, anything, what is very important for the heart, you can get it by Krishna consciousness. Greg. When these drug people on the lower east side came and talked to Swamiji, he was so patient with them. He was speaking on a philosophy which they had never heard before. When someone takes LSD, they are really into themselves, and they don't hear properly when someone talks to them. So Swamiji will make particular points, and they would not understand him. So he would have to make the same point again. He was very patient with these people, but he would not give in the dream. No. He would not give in the claim that LSD was a bona fide spiritual aid to self-realization. So we can see how Srila Prabhupada was determined to help that person. Even if he was speaking philosophy and they did not understand, he was really trying to go deep in the understanding. So he was very, very patient, like children. When children does not understand, you have to say very patiently, and you have to say again and again. And the second point, very important, he wants to tell that the young people, you no need to take drugs to be a spiritualist, to get high. There's another way to get it. October 1966. Tompkins Square Park was a park on the Lower East Side. On the south, it was bordered by 70th Street with its 4- and 5-story brownstone tenements. On the north side was dense, with more brownstone, but in better condition, and a very old small building that housed the Tompkins Square branch of the New York Public Library on Avenue Bay. The park east border stood St. Bridget Church, built in 1948, when the neighborhood had been entirely Irish. The church, school, and rectory still occupy much of the block, and the west border of the park, Avenue I, was lined with tiny old candy stores selling newspapers, magazines, cigarettes, and ice-cream soda at the counter. All for the people who were here. There were also a few bars, several grocery stores, and a couple of Slavic restaurants specializing in inexpensive vegetable broths, which brought Ukrainian and hippies side by side for bodily nourishment. The park's 10 acres held many tall trees, but at least half the park was sparred. A network of 5-foot-high heavy round-higher fences were through the park, lining the wallways and protecting the grass. The fences and the many walkways and entrances to the park gave it the effects of a maze. Ça veut dire quoi, maze? M-A-Z-E.
Maze.
Maze?
Labyrinth.
Labyrinth?
Like labyrinth.
Ah. Since the river was still warm and it was Sunday, the park was crowded with people. Almost all the space on the benches that lined the walkways was occupied. There were older people, mostly Ukrainians, dressed in outdated suits and sweaters, even in the warm weather, sitting together in clans talking. There were many children in the park also, mostly Puerto Ricans and blacks, but also fair hair, hard-faced slum kids racing around on bikes or playing with balls and frisbees. I hope it's not too difficult. Is all right? Yeah. You understand a little bit? The basketball and handball courts were mostly taken by the teenagers, and as always, there were plenty of loose running dogs. So everything is described what Srila Prabhupada can look. And I don't know if you had the desire to come in a place when you see all that people who look, they are all lost, even the dogs are lost, so you can see. A marble miniature gazebo, 4 pillars and a roof, with a drinking fountain inside, was a remnant from the old days, 1891, according to the inscriptions. On its 4 sides were the words hope, faith, charity, and temperance. But someone has sprayed the whole structure with black paint, making crude designs and illegal names and initials. Today, the bench has been taken over by several conga and bongo drummers, and the whole park pulses with her demanding rhythms. And the hippies were there, different from the others. The bearded Bohemian men and their long-haired young girlfriends dressed in old blue jeans were still an unusual sight. Even in the Lower East Side melting pot, the present created tension. They were from middle-class families, and so they had not been driven to the slums by dire economic necessity. This created conflicts in their dealings with the underprivileged immigrants. And the hippies' well-known proclivity for psychedelic drugs, the revolt against their families and affluence, and the absorption in the avant-garde sometimes made them the cheer minority among the neighbors. Srila Prabhupada was very courageous, and he has really faith in the mantra Hare Krishna, because you can see all the people they were out of their country, and they were just here for doing nothing. They were completely out of the society, and to preach to that people, he was very courageous. But the hippies just wanted to do their own thing and create their own revolution for love and peace. So usually they were tolerated, although not appreciated. There were various groups among the young and hippies at King Square Park. There were friends who had gone to the same school together, they took the same job together, or who agreed on a particular philosophy of art, literature, politics, and metaphysics. They were lovers. They were group hanging out together for reasons undecipherable, except for the common purpose of doing their own thing. And there were others who lived like hermits. A loner would sit on a park bench, analyzing the effects of cocaine, looking up at the strangely rustling green leaves of the tree, and the blue sky above the dimmers, and then down to the garbage at his feet, as he helplessly followed his mind from fear to illumination, to disgust to hallucination, on, until after a few hours the drug began to wear off and he was again a common stranger. What's a pity to see the young people taking drugs like that? What's a pity? And losing time, losing many things. They even can lose the health and the brain. It's terrible to see that. Sometimes they will sit up all night, spaced out in the park until at last in the light of morning they will stretch out on benches to sleep. Hippies especially took to the park on Sundays. They at least passed through the temple on their way on to St. Mark Place, Greenwich Village, or the Lexington Avenue subway at Astor Place, or the E&D subway at Austin and Second, or to catch an up-down bus on First Avenue, a downtown bus on Second, or a cross-town on Ninth. Or they went to the park just to get out of their apartments and sit together in the open air, to get high again, to talk through the park maze of pathways, or to walk. But whatever the hippies' diverse interests and drives, the Lower East Side was an essential part of their music. We can see is through the kirtan, Srila Prabhupada, he could help the Vaishnav people because they like music. So he could chant and everybody they were attracted. It was not just a dirty slum. It was the best place in the world to conduct the experiment in consciousness. It's what all the people were feeling, the young hippies, they were feeling. It's very important that place because I can practice mysticism. For all its fears and threats of violence and the confined life of its brownstone tenements, the Lower East Side was still the forefront of a revolution in mind expansion. Unless you were living there and taking psychedelics or marijuana, or at least intellectually pursue the quest for free personal religion, you were not enlightened and you were not taking part in the most progressive revolution in human consciousness. So they were thinking they were part of something very special to progress in the consciousness. And it was this searching, a quest beyond the humdrum existence of the ordinary materialistic straight American, but brought unity to the otherwise elastic gathering of hippies on the Lower East Side. Into this chaotic pageant, Swamiji entered with his followers and sat down to hold a kirtan. Now is coming, he was held, and now is coming the angels. 3 or 4 devotees who arrived ahead of him, selected an open area of the park, put out the oriental carpet Robert Nelson had donated, sat down on it and began playing kartals and chanting Hare Krishna. Immediately some boys rose up on their bicycles, but just short of the carpet and stood astride their bike, curiously and irreverently staring. Other passerby gathered to listen. Meanwhile, Swamiji, accompanied by half a dozen disciples, was walking the 8 blocks from the storefront. Ramananda carried the harmonium and the Swami drums. Kirtanananda, who was now shaven-headed at Swamiji's request and dressed in loose, flowing canary yellow robes, created an extra sensation. Driver pulled their car over to have a look. The passengers leaning forward, aghast at the outrageous dress and shaved head. So you can see they were making a sensation for all the people, and that people they were dressing and so strangely and with flowers and anything, but when the devotee came they were completely surprised. As the group passed the store, people inside would poke each other and indicate the spectacle. People came to the windows of the tenements, taking in the Swami and his group as if a parade were passing. Puerto Rican tough guys, especially, could not restrain themselves for exaggerating reactions. "Hey Buddha," they chanted. "Hey, you forgot to change your pajamas." They made shrill screams as if imitating Indian war whoops they had heard in Hollywood westerns. "Hey!" "Aha!" exclaimed one heckler, who began imitating what he thought was an Eastern dance. No one on the street knew anything about Krishna consciousness, not even of Hindu culture and customs. To them, the Swami in Torrance was just a bunch of crazy hippies showing off. But they did not quite know what to make of the Swami. He was different. Nevertheless, they were suspicious. Some, however, like Eowyn Halpern, a veteran Lower East Side resident, felt sympathetic toward this stranger, who was apparently a very dignified person on a peaceful mission. Irving Halpern. A lot of people have spectacularized notion of what a Swami was, as though they were going to suddenly see people lying on little mattresses made out of nails, and all kind of rather absurd notions. Yet here came just a very graceful, peaceful, gentle, obviously well-meaning being into a lot of hostility. So we can close the eye a little bit and we can see where Srila Prabhupada came, because Srila Prabhupada, he was seeing everything, and we can see it was really hostile environment. It was very difficult. So the people were thinking, hippies? What are they? Communists? While the young taunted, the middle-aged and elderly shook their head or stared, cold and uncomprehending. The way of the path was spotted with blasphemies, ribald jokes and tension, but no violence. After the successful kirtan in Washington Square Park, Prabhupada regularly be sending out parades of 3 or 4 devotees, chanting and playing hand cymbals through the streets and sidewalks of the Lower East Side. On one occasion, they had been bombarded with water balloons and eggs, and they were sometimes faced with bullies looking for a fight. But they were never attacked, just stared at, laughed at, or shouted after. But it was not easy to do kirtan in that condition. Today, the ethnic neighbors just assumed that Prabhupada and his followers had come onto the streets dressed in outlandish costumes as a joke, just to turn everything topsy-turvy and cause tears and horrors. They felt that the responses were only natural for any normal, respectable American slum dweller. So it was quite an adventure before the group even reached the park. Swamiji, however, remained unaffected. "What are they saying?" he asked once or twice, and Brahmananda explained. Prabhupada had a way of holding his head high, his chin up, as he walked forward. And we can see he was in a mission and he was non-affected. It made him look aristocratic and determined. His vision was spiritual. He saw everyone as a spirit soul, and Krishna as the controller of everything. Yet, aside from that, even from a worldly point of view, he wasn't afraid of the city's pandemonium. After all, he was an experienced Calcutta man. Sometimes he was saying to his disciples, "But I am a Calcutta man." And I know one day he was, he says he was a very high building. Do you remember what was before? It was a very high building, and Srila Prabhupada said, "But I am going up, and he was very, very, very high. And when the disciple said, you were very courageous, Srila Prabhupada." And Srila Prabhupada replied, I am always courageous, I am still courageous. He said like that. The kirtan had been going for about 10 minutes when Swamiji arrived. Stepping out of his white rubber slippers, just as if he were home in the temple, he sat down on the rug with his followers, who had now stopped their singing and were watching him. He wore a pink sweater and around his shoulders a khadi wrapper. He smiled. Looking at his group, he indicates the ring by counting 1, 2, 3. Then he began clapping his hands eagerly as he continued counting 1, 2, 3. The kartal followed, at first with long beats, but he kept the ring by clapping his hands, and then they got it. Clapping hands, flashing cymbals, attentively to a slow, steady beat. So we can see he has to show everything because they did not know. We can think he did not prepare even his disciple to do it. He just went in the fight. It began. He began singing prayers, but no one else knew. Vandyam, Shiguru, Shiyuta Padakamalam, Shigurun, Vaishnavam Cha. His voice was sweet like the harmonium, rich in the nuances of Bengali melody. Sitting on the rug under a large oak tree, he sang the mysterious Sanskrit prayers. None of his followers knew any mantra but Hare Krishna, but they knew Swamiji, and they kept going, listening closely to him while the truck rumbled on the street and the conga drum pulsed in the distance. As he sang Shirupa Sarajatam, the dog came by, kids stared, a few mockers pointed fingers. "Hey, who is that pious man?" But his voice was a shelter beyond the clashing dualities. His boy went on, bringing cymbals while he sang alone, Shri Radha Krishna Padam. Prabhupada sang prayers in praise of Srimati Radharani's pure conjugal love for Krishna, the beloved of the gopi. Each word passed down for hundreds of years by the intimate associate of Krishna, who, saturated with deep transcendental meaning, but only he understood. They waited for him to begin Hare Krishna, although hearing him chant was exciting enough. More people came, which was what Prabhupada wanted. He wanted them chanting and dancing with him, and now his followers wanting bhakti. They wanted to be with him. They had tried together at the UN Ananda Ashram in Washington Square. It seemed that this would be the thing they would always do, go with Swamiji and sit and chant. He would always be with them chanting. mais là aussi c'est le mantra Hare Krishna. Then he began the mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We can see Srila Prabhupada, he was waiting, people coming. He did not want to begin with a few persons. He wanted people to begin to be with him, and he was little by little, he was preparing the mantra Hare Krishna. Even for his disciples, future disciples, they were waiting when he will chant Hare Krishna, waiting. So when he began to chant Hare Krishna, they were all enthusiastic to chant with him. They responded too low and muddled at first, but he returned it to them again, thinking it right and triumphant. Again they responded, gaining heart, reading their stars and clapping hands. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Again he sang it alone, and they stayed, hanging closely on each word, clapping, beating cymbals, and watching him looking back at them for his inner concentration. His old age wisdom, his bhakti. And out of love for Swamiji, they broke loose from the surroundings and joined him as a chanting congregation. So we can see is the beginning of the Hare Krishna movement, how Srila Prabhupada he prepared his disciples and how he shows to how we begin with people who are not at all prepared to do what the mission he has, to help him in this mission. So he was really very courageous to do that, very courageous, and he has firm faith in the mantra Hare Krishna. Swamiji played his small drum, holding its strap in his left hand, passing the drum against his body, and with his right hand playing intricate Mridanga rhythms. We can see we have many films when we see Srila Prabhupada with the little drums and playing the drums like that. When he was young, his father he paid one person to teach the Mridanga to Srila Prabhupada because he wanted his son to be a nice, good devotee. So we can see he used everything he has, Srila Prabhupada used it for to take the mind and the ears of all the young. They like so much music, so he was playing very nicely to attract them. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. He was going strong after half an hour, repeating the mantra, carrying them with him as interested onlookers gather in greater numbers. A few hippies sat down on the edge of a rug, copying the cross-legged sitting posture, listening, clapping, trying the chanting, and the small inner circle of Prabhupada and his followers grew as gradually more people joined. He must have been very happy to see the people chanting innocently. They were chanting innocently, so he must have been very, very proud to see them entering in the Bhakti Yoga, even if they don't know. So he must have been very, very, very happy. As always, his kirtan attracted musicians. Irene Halpern. I make flutes and I play musical instruments. There are all kinds of different instruments that I make. When the Swami came, I went out and started playing, and he welcomed me. Whenever a new musician would join and play the first note, he would extend his arm. Come. He would be asked, but he had stepped up to the podium and was going to lead the New York Philharmonic. I mean, there was this gesture that every musician knows. You just know when someone else wants you to play with them, and feel good that you are playing with them. And this very basic kind of musician communication was there with him. And I related to it very quickly, and I was happy about it. Srila Prabhupada was welcoming everybody, come play. Even we hear film. Sometimes it's really cacophony. Cacophony, we say that it's really so many instruments, and we can hear any noise. But Srila Prabhupada was willing to attract everybody, so very good. C'est ça se dit pas?
Si, c'est bien, non, mais quand il a pas de problème, il n'y a pas plus.
C'est un peu dur parce que. Do you have some question maybe? Do you want to add something? It's nicely narrated, we can really see the scene, we are really, it's very nicely explained and described. Each details are really nicely, and what the people are thinking, what they are, where they come from, and Srila Prabhupada welcoming everybody, so happy to see the young people coming. So it's incredible, Very,
Why is it nice for us or important to read the feelings, as you say, the feelings of the people, or the details, how it was, 60 years ago? Why for us is it, interesting and important? What's the value of memories like that?
Okay. It's very important to listen to that description and who were here, who were that people that Srila Prabhupada meet, because we can see he was really, it's incredible, he was really alone, giving Krishna consciousness to people who were not at all worthy. When we are thinking, if we have to do that, we will think it's impossible. It's impossible to make that people Krishna conscious. And he was a gentleman. He was living in a good family. He was healthy. He had a lot of money. He was a gentleman, and he was with people who were completely rejected by the societies, and we get a big feeling of appreciation for Srila Prabhupada, and we are thinking, but now we have to do, in one sense, we have to do the same. And we don't, it's difficult, we cannot think we are doing like he was doing. It's difficult, we are always thinking that the people are like that, we will not understand, but we can see Srila Prabhupada was seeing the soul, just the soul, how the soul has to be, he reclaims the soul, he wants to help them to become Krishna conscious. So, for me, I don't know, I am asking you too what you are thinking, but for me it's a very deep appreciation for Srila Prabhupada to see that he makes so much effort to begin the movement, even if it was impossible.
The patience, the tolerance, because of all the Mataji, a lot of insult, a
Yes.
lot of telling off, and a lot of who are you,
Yes.
Yet,
He looks like he was a stranger in all that person. Among that person, he was a stranger.
Yeah.
What did he do?
I wanted to say that also
health problems as well. So he had problems with his health plus all this, and that's even more difficult.
Yes.
We're healthy and we're not doing it, but he had health problems and he did it on the top of that. So that's
Yes.
yeah.
You want to say something? Devatinanda Prabhu, you want to add something? Or add something?
The previous preachers sent by the spiritual master of Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada, they've been not using the same way as Prabhupada would do. Even though they were sannyasis, they would dress into gentlemen, English gentlemen, and they would reach the higher part of the society.
Yeah.
Banmara, Charanaravinda, Mataji, and those, they would approach the high estate. They met the queen, the king, they met Himmler, all the great influencer of that era in 1930. But they were accustomed to follow their manners because they would, at that time, India was considered, people from India would be considered lower than the Englishmen.
Mm.
So this is now in a different era. Prabhupada didn't take the way of the Westerners to preach to them, but
Yes.
he went crude and he went natural. And he walked. He didn't reach the high state. He went to the lower part, and that was clearly the opposite of what the predecessors
Yes.
done. But it managed. He walked.
Yes. 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 So we got really, we appreciate. And it's not, he could not reach other people because he did it after. In France or in any countries, he was meeting very high people and always he was the same. So like he said, he had a head like that and so aristocratic, but he could do both and it's very, very special.
And it's encouraging for us, for everyone, because if it was maybe, if he started preaching to the high educated people of the society, we could think, oh yeah, but look, they became Krishna conscious because they are very educated and they are very learned, and look, I have no chance because I don't know anything, I didn't study or I don't know, but it's I mean, Krishna knows what he does, and I think it's encouraging for us because we don't have this excuse. So they were even on the drug and they were young, and we can see why it's encouraging, and we can think, okay, they did it, it was Prabhupada, but we can think more, oh, I can do it, I have my chance. I don't need anything to just follow Krishna, follow what Prabhupada said.
Oui. Who has life can preach. Yes, he can preach to any person because the Srila Prabhupada he showed us he was doing to the lower people and he did it. You want to say something?
Yeah, Prabhupada was not, of course he was also concerned to preach to the higher section of society. Before he came to the West, he got letters to all the governments, ministers, and universities, like that. And after the movement started, he also sent the BBT team to go to all universities. And, when he was going around, he was bring some educated or influenced people.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. But what could he do? He was sent as an order by Krishna, the spiritual master, and he took whatever was given to him. I'm sure if nice elevated people would have called, he would have done it also. But that's what was there. So he did not reject that. No. Whatever Krishna gives, we have to use it the best we can. So that's what he is we are receiving as Krishna's mercy.
Yes.
And, just use it for his pleasure. And that's what Prabhupada did. Not that he chooses especially the poor, hippie, or down. And that's what Krishna gave him, and he humbly accepted it as his service. And also we can see it was causeless. He did not get any benefit for that. No money, no fame, no present association. It was causeless. He was about to die. He was old and not healthy, so it was causeless. Maybe, there was no scope. He was conscious. Maybe I'm doing this, but maybe in 1 month I will die, or something like that. But still, that's what Krishna gives me. Let me serve whatever the Lord gives me. I just keep follow the order, the parampara preaching. Very humble and very peaceful, courageous.
Nice lesson. It's a nice lesson for us, for many points. Many points. And
Yeah, I'm also thinking here about how proper, he sets the example and he instills also in all devotees later on, this, in one sense is called the devil may care, we just do. We go out, we present Krishna consciousness, we chant, and what, in any circumstance, it doesn't matter, and what do people think about us and like that. It's kind of this we go out and give Krishna consciousness, and people can accept, they cannot accept what they say about us, and what you can do and what you cannot do. Devotees don't really care. That was very much Prabhupada's mood. So then you see later on the devotees, they would also go with the same mood and preach. They would go into Africa and just have kirtans amongst all the natives living there. They would go to the eastern countries, communist countries, and preach very courageously and not caring for public opinion, and not caring even for their own safety and security, and
yes, we can see it depends entirely on Krishna. We can see because it does not weight anything. Reputation, popularity, it does not weight anything. It does not want anything. But he is doing in Russia. He went and one person is incredible. It's incredible. We can see how much he is dear to Krishna, because he depends. He is not making many plans, different plans. He is just doing what he can do, and it's incredible. So big journey just for few days, and after come back. But he did it, and he was a complete success. Hare Krishna.
Yes, discussing as we do, but how he was so courageous, determined, against everything. I'm thinking, what can make someone keep going like that against everything? We can say, well, he was convinced, yes. He was this or that. He was courageous, yes. But I feel probably, the ultimate motivation, the ultimate drive for someone to do something impossible or against reason, against everything, that's when you love.
Oui.
And the French say, le cœur a ses raisons que la raison ne connaît pas. The heart has its own motivation that the intellect doesn't know. So that's, that can be only that who was driving Srila Prabhupada. He had love for Krishna and for the Vaishnava.
For a spiritual master.
Yeah. It must be that only because it was not reasonable. It was not
No.
on either side. So this courage, determination, humility, and that he was on the basis of his love, for Krishna.
Very nice.
So we don't know so much what is love for Krishna. We are a little ID and little feeling sometimes in that. But so we don't know what is some Krishna's love for someone like Sri Prabhupada. And we can see through negative sin where he goes. No sin could, stop him. But I mean, it must be something even more than understanding, conviction, determination, patience, courage. Okay, but no. He was enchanted by Krishna.
Oui.
So it's very nice to have someone in the world, amongst us, who carries this very rare thing, real pure love for God, for Krishna. That's really unique.
Is the last words, I think, because it's very important. If you really look at Srila Prabhupada, you want to be like him, and he shows us the way. He say any person can get it. So it's very. We appreciate so much what the example he shows us and what he's giving. What he's giving, love for God. It's very special. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita ki jai. Gaur Purnandi. Hare Krishna.